Hey guys, and welcome back to my puzzle bubble. Finally, it feels so good to say that again. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone for being so patient with me during this time of no uploads on my channel. Honestly, it just took so much longer than expected to get settled in this new house. There were so many issues that went wrong. I would be here forever if I listed out all the things that I had to get sorted. And then on top of that, I was ill for the past month with a really bad chest infection. I'm actually still a tiny bit sick, so if you can hear it in my voice, I apologize, but I just really wanted to make a puzzle video again for you guys. So let's get into just that. The puzzle that I'm going to solve today is this one. This is a Game of Thrones puzzle. Now, I do just want to put a spoiler alert right here. If you have not seen Game of Thrones and you plan on watching it at some point, I would suggest not watching this video because I may talk about some things that could be considered a spoiler. I myself am a massive fan of the series, with the exception of the final season, which I think a lot of us fans feel very strongly about. But if you've never seen Game of Thrones and you don't plan on doing so, you can still watch this puzzle video. You don't have to understand any of the references that I'm making. You can just watch me struggle putting together this very detailed map puzzle. So this is a 1,000 piece puzzle and it is by the brand Jumbo. And I got this puzzle gifted to me all the way back in 2015, which is 10 years ago. I can't believe I've had this puzzle for so long. I got this puzzle shortly after the season 5 finale, I believe, which was the iconic, Walk of Shame, Cersei's Walk of Shame, and Jon Snow getting stabbed in the back by his Night Watch. So we were at like peak Game of Thrones levels, and then I got gifted this puzzle for my birthday that year. Back then as well, I don't think I owned any jigsaw puzzles at all, which is wild to think about now. I think I maybe had like one nature themed puzzle from a car boot hanging around in my garage somewhere, but I think everyone knew how obsessed I was with Game of Thrones at the time, and that is why I got this puzzle. And in my recent memory, after obviously moving out of my parents' house, this is the first puzzle I ever remember putting together. And what is absolutely wild about that for me is, even looking at this now, this is not a puzzle for beginners at all. If you look really closely, you can see that the border of this puzzle is the exact same. It is just a repeating pattern the whole way around, which I remember driving me absolutely crazy before. And then you have the different house sigils here. Those were very easy, very simple, not a problem. But then the map itself is such a difficult thing to put together. There's obviously different sections and landmarks, but in between there's just so much empty space. It's really difficult to fill in, not to mention all the empty black sea around as well. It's a really tricky one. So why have I chosen this puzzle to redo now? Well, obviously it's been an entire decade, almost exactly, because my birthday's coming up again, since I received this puzzle. But I did take progress pictures back then, which I will pop up on the screen right now. And from those, you can see that it took me 3 weeks to complete this puzzle back then. But obviously, since the COVID lockdown, my puzzle completion rates have increased just a tiny bit since then. And now I feel like I want to re-challenge myself a decade later to see just how fast I can put this together now that I have all these new tips and tricks that I've learned. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna do a nice sort of all the puzzle pieces, and I think I will pull out the border pieces. I'm going to separate out all the house sigils because they're really nice and easy to pick out. I'm also gonna make a pile for the Game of Thrones text down at the bottom left there. And then everything else, I think I'm just gonna put in a pile to one side, and that can be future Scarlett's problem, because at the moment, I just really wanna jump into puzzling. I need some puzzle therapy right now, so let's get into sorting. Okay, so that is the initial sort complete. That took me just 14 minutes to get done. And now I have a pile of border pieces. a pile of the house sigil pieces. I have a very small pile for the Game of Thrones writing down here. And then I have this rather intimidatingly large pile of just everything else. I'm thinking I probably should have sorted this more specifically because that's just a whole mess. I am going to have to go in for a second sort at some point. And what else would I be listening to in the background today while I puzzle than Game of Thrones itself? I thought this was the perfect opportunity to rewatch some of my favorite episodes. So I chose my favorite episode of all time, the season 6 finale episode. Currently Cersei has just blown up the church with everyone inside it. R.I.P. Marjorie, they did you so dirty. But this whole episode from start to finish is just perfection in my eyes. There's just so much going on. So I will be watching that while I continue to puzzle. Now, as annoying as this is gonna be, I know I absolutely have to start with the edge and the repetitive border on this one. This map is gonna come together in very small sections that aren't gonna be connected for a very long time. And so if I have the outline border, it's gonna really help with my placement of exactly where the different locations should go. And honestly, it's just gonna make the whole map assembly part come together a lot quicker down the road. That being said, this is gonna be very, very difficult. I think potentially the most difficult bit of the entire puzzle, but I'm gonna continue watching this absolute banger of an episode and just power through this border. Okay, finally, this border is complete. I am done, thank goodness. I am so sick of looking at this pattern over and over again, I cannot tell you. And I completed this border in about 50 minutes. So I'm already over an hour for this puzzle. It just goes to show you how tricky that really was. I started by assembling this very small section up here. If you look very closely, you can see the white land, which is very clearly the north. And that was really easy to distinguish, so I put that together. Then everything else was just trial and error basically. But what I did notice is that the longer sides had the slightly thicker pieces, and then the two shorter sides had ever so slightly skinnier pieces to them. So once I figured that out, the process did go a little bit quicker, but that did take a while. I've now finished an entire episode of Game of Thrones, and I've moved on to watching Battle of the Bastards, which was the episode before the one I just watched. So now that I have completed this very boring black and white border, I am so unbelievably eager to get stuck into the very bright house sigil colors. So that is what I'm going to tackle next. And just like that, I have finished all of the 7 different house sigils. That felt like it went by so quickly. It only took me about 14 minutes to put that together. And as you can see, it attaches really nicely to the border at the top, and it feels like it completes a nice chunk up here at the top. So keeping in the theme of filling in large pieces of this puzzle, I think next I am going to tackle that text, which will fill in quite a large section down here in the bottom left. So that is going to be my next task. Okay, so now I have completed the Game of Thrones logo as well. That took just 7 minutes to complete, although annoyingly I am missing one part during the sort, so I will have to keep an eye out for that. So currently, to get to this point in the puzzle has been just under an hour and a half. And I actually went back and compared because I looked at the timestamps on the progress pictures from the last time I did this. And just to compare, to get to this exact point last time, it took me all day. It took me 5 hours of puzzling. So I'm already way ahead of my previous self. I feel like Monica from Friends. I feel like I'm in competition with myself here.
You'd be in competition with yourself. That's my favorite kind.
Okay, so now that I've done all the easiest parts of this puzzle, I know what I have to do next. There is no more delaying it. The time has come. Past Scarlett has well and truly made this more difficult for present me, because now I have to do that second sort that I was dreading. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to sort those pieces yet. I think I just need to get them all out and see what piles I can differentiate between, because it's just a whole lot of land and a whole lot of sea. Okay, so that second sort actually only took about 15 minutes to complete, which was a lot less time than I was expecting, so very happy about that. And now I'm feeling so much better about the organised piles that I have around me. I sorted out all the pieces that have the King's Road on them, which is like this really fine white line that runs throughout the map. If you have seen the show, that is the road that leads all the way down to King's Landing, and that somehow takes an entire season for people to travel along at the beginning of the series, and then by the end of the series, people travel the entire distance in like 20 minutes. Regardless, my next pile of pieces that I have is just any piece that has even the tiniest bit of writing to show me a location or a place in the map. And then I have a very small section of just white pieces, which is going to be mostly the area that is beyond the wall, all the snowy stuff. And then I have a very small pile again of like this reddy brown land color, which I know is going to be kind of on the east of this map. And then the final pile that I did sort out was anything that didn't have any writing on or anything like that, but they do have like this really fine dark line running along it, which is like all the rivers and streams along the map as well. So I thought it'd be good to sort them separately as well. I am still watching Game of Thrones in the background. I've just kind of come into the end of the Battle of the Bastards episode. It's literally the point where Jon Snow is about to beat the living daylights out of Ramsay. So I might just have to watch that before continuing. If you know, you know. But then after watching that, I think I'm just gonna try and put together obviously the white section, because that's gonna be no problem. And then I think I'm gonna try and do the King's Road and see how well that connects along Westeros. And then I guess just start on the locations and start building up those tiny bits of the map. Okay, so I just spent around about an hour putting in pretty much every single piece you saw that I had sorted, bar these 3 pieces I just can't find a home for. Everything else is where it's supposed to be. And honestly, I'm really shocked at how quickly this is coming together. I mean, as you can see, Westeros is pretty much filled in. It's just around the edges now that I have to do. I forget that the locations in Westeros are a lot closer together, whereas in Essos, I believe this area is called, the bit where Daenerys spends like a vast majority of her time. that's where the locations are way more spread out, which is why there's loads of random gaps around this bit. But honestly, I'm really happy to be at this point and still under the 3-hour mark. I think I'm gonna get this done a lot sooner than I was expecting. I've just had a little dinner break as I've been going at this all afternoon. And now I think I'm just gonna fill in the rest of the land pieces. I'm gonna go through and sort and pick out all the pieces that don't have any sea connected to it. And then after I've filled in all the like mainland pieces, I think I'll just go along like all the coast, all the shores of all the lands. There's one island up here that I haven't touched yet. It's quite a small island, so I need to do that. So I think my next task is literally gonna be finish everything that's land and just leave the sea. And after finishing Battle of the Bastards, I've gone back to season 4, episode 9, because I kind of wanted to watch another battle, and my second favourite battle is the Watchers on the Wall episode, where Mance Rayder and all the wildlings attack Jon Snow and everyone else at the wall. I think that's a fantastic episode. I've watched the whole of that, and now I just let it play. I'm now on the season 4 finale, which is called The Children, and so I'm gonna be watching that episode while I continue on the land. So I actually forgot to mention that I've been using the iPad as a little hack during this. I found the exact image that the puzzle has used of the Game of Thrones map, and I'm using it to like really zoom in on the places, which gives me a lot better view of like all the tiny little names throughout the map. If you can see on the box, it's actually really difficult to see some of the really small location names. And I have like pretty good eyesight as well, and I really struggle. So using the iPad to like properly zoom in and you can actually see it, it just really helps to magnify the image. Also, I did get this idea from somebody that I saw recently at the Gibsons Championships. They actually had the puzzle image up on their iPad and they were magnifying in on it as well. And I thought, what a fantastic idea. So when I was struggling to see the box, I thought, let's give it a go. And it has made putting together these puzzles so much easier this time around. So I'm now at the 3.5 hour mark pretty much with this puzzle, and this is the current progress. The Westeros land is done, Essos is done, the little island up there is finished as well. There is a very small handful of pieces of like tiny little bits of land that I can't place, but other than that, it's all complete. It's looking so good. I'm so happy with the progress so far. But now there's a whole lot of Black Sea left to complete. But I think what I'm gonna do first is pick out any of the pieces that have the white border on them, and I'll be able to fill in the edge a little bit more. And then after that, I think I'll be able to pick out some of the different ones. Some of them have like little blue writing on them as names of like sea or bays and stuff like that. And then I'll fill them in, and then it's just going to be a big shape sort to fill in the rest of the Black Sea. I would say I think I'd get this done before 4 hours, but I know how difficult all this black is going to be. So honestly, if I can get this done in about 4.5 hours, I'll be very happy with that. I am finished. I have completed the entire map of Game of Thrones in puzzle form in a final time of 4 hours and 28 minutes. So I was right about that last bit really taking a long time. It took almost an hour just to do the C pieces. It was all going pretty smoothly. I managed to connect the C pieces that had the white border around it. I managed to finish off all of the blue writing around as well. And then it got to this chunk up here, which you may have noticed in the time lapse, caused a whole range of issues. Now, what I have noticed, it happened a few times during the land pieces as well, that there are a lot of false fits within this puzzle. It was much easier to spot with the land pieces, but considering the false fits with the pure black pieces, it was much more difficult to see where I had gone wrong. I tried so many different configurations of pieces around here because they all seemed to fit in various places, so it was a lot of trial and error. I even then tried to backtrack a bit and take out pieces from over here and see if I had swapped them around. I even picked up the puzzle and tried to see if there was any light coming through the back where you can see a false fit a bit easier. Didn't work. In the end, the only way I managed to actually finish it was I had to go back and see the picture of the completed puzzle that I had on my phone and then look at the exact puzzle shapes and where they were and cheat a little bit just to get those final pieces in place. But overall, I cannot believe that I completed this puzzle in under 5 hours. I am really shocked at that, considering the last time I put this together, it took, like I said, about 3 weeks. If only me 10 years ago knew just how big of a role jigsaw puzzles were to play in my future, I would have never believed you. What I will say about this brand of jigsaw puzzles is that there is absolutely no puzzle dust with this one, which is definitely a win. And it very, very easily passes the pickup test. It is put together very, very solidly. But unfortunately, the sheer amount of false fits that are in this puzzle just really lets it down for me. And because the pieces snap and fit together so tightly as well, when you do get a false fit and have to pull it apart, the cardboard actually comes off. It's lifted, it's like hanging on by a thread on this one. So there's lots of lifting on the cardboard on the pieces themselves. But I mean, it was a really fun and different type of puzzle for me to put together. This is the only map puzzle I think that I own, so it was really fun to do that, and it was a good excuse to watch some Game of Thrones episodes. In the end, I think I watched 5.5 episodes or so total. I just went back and watched some of my favorites. It was really good to see them again. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed watching me put together this puzzle for you guys. Whether you're a Game of Thrones fan or not, please let me know in the comments down below. What are some of your favorite episodes if you have seen it? And I just want to say again, another thank you for everyone for being so, so patient with me as I've gone through this big move and then being so, so, so poorly afterwards. I really appreciate it. I promise you it won't be another 2 months until I upload another puzzle video. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day and I will catch you in the next one. Bye guys.